I think we're live. Peace and love, everybody. This is AI News with AI Erik, and today we got a special guest. Today we're going to be talking about something that people always be asking me about, and that is investing, trading online. So today's episode is definitely a special episode because I'm trying to get my screen right now. I got all these windows popping up. Let me shut these windows down. I apologize. Let me shut all these windows down. Got a whole bunch of windows up. I thought I took care of this. Okay, here we go. So pull up this. Once again, we got a special episode today because people are always asking me how to use AI for trading. Everybody asks me that, and I actually don't know the answer. So I met a brother at InvestFest that definitely impressed me, and I'm so happy that we eventually connected. You know what I'm saying? So today we're going to be introducing opulent bots with the S, and we got a brother named Mr. Daniel Armstrong that we're going to be introducing. He has already impressed me. I've talked to him about 15 minutes, so I'm gonna bring him on right now. Once again, this is my brother Daniel Armstrong. Peace and love, brother. Your mic.
There we go. My bad.
Yes. What's up, my man?
Nothing much. Nothing much. Appreciate you, for having me on the show.
Yes, sir. So, once again, I'm still trying to get my screen right for some reason. I'm trying to get both of these on. Okay. So, like I said, today's episode is basically we're going to be talking about trading with opulent bots. That's am I pronouncing that correctly?
Yeah, opulent box.
Okay. I'm going to have to take this paper and put it to the other side. I apologize, man.
No problem.
I was trying to get everything on one screen, but it doesn't seem to be working for me. All right, so let's talk about first of all, I want everybody to know me and this brother met at InvestFest. I got to get this on this screen. We met at InvestFest in 2024, and once again, I was impressed with his setup. He had a whole crew at InvestFest. He had his setup was dope. Opulent Bots is a company that deals with trading online. Me, myself, I'm gonna let y'all know straight up, I'm not a professional with trading at all or investing. So I had to do a little research so I can kind of have some questions that I can ask Daniel. So for you guys that do invest and the ones that actually are curious about investing too, because he's going to break down actually investing for beginning, for people who are beginners. So before we even get into opulent bots, I just want you, Daniel, to talk about who you are and where you from and your education, because I was very impressed with that.
Got you. So, well, I guess I can get my elevator pitch, huh? Well,
Yeah.
my name's Daniel Armstrong. Where I'm from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I study finance and marketing at Marquette University. Give y'all a little backstory. I also participated in track and field, so I was a high jumper. I won both the indoor and outdoor state championship in high school and set my school record. That led me to being recruited for Marquette for track and field. So pretty much during that tenure, I was a two-time All-American and a six-time Big East champion. But pretty much, I started to transition into the business school, and there I pretty much studied finance and marketing. So when I graduated, I actually graduated during the height of the pandemic. So I studied for 4 years thinking I would get a job, and it just didn't play out like that for me. What I ended up doing though was being devastated, and I never wanted to be in a predicament to where somebody else could or the economy could just control how I get paid. So I started to do research on entrepreneurship and figure out how to start a business. It came down to, personal credit, business credit, all of that type of stuff, right? And I pretty much invested in the courses to help me have the capital and just to know how to navigate this process like you see people do. So I sought mentorship countless times throughout all of my life to pretty much help me get to where I wanted to go. From there, my mentor, he actually owned a restaurant where he allowed me to actually help him. That led me to becoming a treasurer with the Wisconsin Black Chamber of Commerce. From there, I actually was able to launch additional business that this one we're not even really talking about, but my background is in finance holistically and helping the community. But I served as a treasurer for the Wisconsin Black Chamber of Commerce, and then eventually launched my business where, I was able to help over 500 business owners, educating them on what it takes to, access capital, providing them with technical assistance, capacity building, all of the things to just give you the foundations to be successful. But during this whole process, I've always had a niche and a drive to want to figure out how to, invest for myself. So dating back to 2016, when I first started college, I was, taking different courses, taking different programs, all of that stuff to teach me how to navigate the markets. Well, again, I came into a proper mentor who actually, held my hand and truly teaching me how to, be profitable on a day-to-day basis. We then began to explore, how to make this process automated, because once we had the skill set in our head and we knew our strategy, we wanted to figure out how to put it into code. So we did that, about 5 years back, and pretty much just over time, we've been back testing that and just letting it actually have real time and real market data. And then from there, we eventually just decided to launch companies.
All right. So you started 5 years ago?
Yeah. Like actually so we have 3 different algorithms that we actually offer. And the longest one back dates, is data 5 years ago.
All right, so let's hold off on that then. So that first algorithm is you got opulent, tigers, and now.
Opulent, Tigress, and Nile.
All right,
Correct.
so let's backtrack because I don't want to lose people. So we talked about who you are. So let's, before we even get into opulence bots, talk to me about trading first of all. Why is trading even important? Why? Because first of all, I don't know if black people are black and brown people or Latinos or minorities are into trading and like we should be, because from my knowledge, like EYL is just waking people up. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that everybody's not woke, but just talk to people about the importance of trading, period.
Okay, so let me separate the two then and really take control of that question you just asked me. So I want people to understand there's a difference between investing and then there's a difference between trading. Investing is a must for a community. You care about, the next generation, you care about your children, all of that type of stuff. Investing is a must. You must invest in order for you to go to that next level, in order for you to actually have something to pass on. And that's literally just, getting a portfolio out there, maxing out your 401k portfolio, having basic T-bills in place, and having, be invested in the S&P 500. Those 3 things basically will give you a foundation and enter you into the world of investing. But those 3 things are crucial in order for you to have something to pass on later and for you to actually be able to move on with times. S&P 500, max out your 401k, and get some basic CDs and T-bills. This is something that everyone should do. On the next level, and we're really talking about, creating that skill set that's going to change the generations for real, and have it to where, for me, just for example, today, if I'm being honest, I was irritated with the day-to-day dollars that I'm spending, right? If I go outside, I hate the fact that I spend $100. Irritates me. I can't leave the house without spending $100. So I said today, you know what? I'm gonna let the market spend the $100 that I'm gonna spend for my day-to-day life. So this morning I put $200 into a trading account. I traded this morning and I made $98. I withdrew that same $98 and used that to spend. When it comes down to trading, I don't know any other skill set that will actually allow you to make money every single day once you truly understand what it is that you're doing. So having the ability to compound accounts with your own 2 hands, man, if you talk about it from, a financial, analyst perspective, when I was studying at Marquette, I was studying to be a financial analyst. And what this means is you as an investor or you as an average consumer, you don't have the knowledge to invest or navigate the financial markets. So you'll come to someone like me and you'll give me the money to manage it, right? But what I'll do is I'll take that money and I'll execute in the markets. What you don't know is that I will take your $1,000, 10,000, $100,000, and I'll have 1,000% return for that year. But by industry standard, I only got to give you 12%, 6%.
Mhm.
If I'm a hedge fund, then I'll give you 30%.
So with your system, you get 100% back?
So well, with our algorithm year to date, we just did 90%. So from January, one of our algorithms have already done 90%. When you talk about the S&P 500, it might give you 20% for the entire year. So what we have developed and what my mission is to create a tool that will give those returns back to your average individual or your average investor without you having to have that extensive knowledge of how to navigate the markets.
We got to go back now because I want to make sure people understand. So for people who's listening who probably don't understand, and now what I'm gonna have the brother do is break down his company, Opulent Bots, because we're talking about trading and we just touched on making sure that you guys know the difference between investing and trading, you know, and then I'm gonna ask him some more questions that I just actually found out about, you know, trading and things like that. So break down to people what Opulent Bots is. This is your company. And before you even do that, though, I'm just kind of impressed because 5 years ago, when you thought about this, you thought about actually using an algorithm to actually like an algorithm is basically X equals Y. It's basically you make it do
Right.
what you want it to do. You know what I'm saying? And then you got real live time AI and trading where it actually watches the market and makes decisions and stuff like that. So he's going to break down both of these things for us. But just go ahead, man. Just break down what this Opulent Bots is all about.
So I guess to take you back to the beginning of what really transpired, right? So again, I was a day trader. And what I found most is that I had the strategy, right? I had the ability to enter the markets and triple accounts, double accounts, right? When I was trading back, in 2020, I first had got out of college. So I was taking $100 to $1,000, taking that 1,000 to 1,500, and then I got to pay rent. Different things like that were happening to me to where I was just compounding money. But having the stress over my head of knowing that, okay, this account that I'm compounding over time is actually what I'm using to pay my bills, right? So it led to me making emotional decisions in my trading strategies. So I'm starting to take losses that I shouldn't take if I was emotionally sound. And you know who don't make emotional decisions?
Who?
Algorithms.
Exact. That is true. That is definitely the truth. So when you first started doing this, you and your whoever was creating the algorithms, how did you actually test it out? Like to even say like this is how I want this, this is what I want this algorithm to do. Like
Well,
you talked about earlier as far as simulation. How did you
well,
even test it at first?
we were already knowledgeable in the strategy that we were using to be profitable, right? So we already knew exactly our checklist of what we were looking for when we would trade in our day to day, right? The problem becomes when market conditions change and you don't stick to that checklist anymore. When you look at, you're in a trade and you're now up $1,000, you're up $10,000. You already known you should have closed this trade and secured those profits. But the bias will tell you to hold on to that trade, and then you'll end up in a bad situation, right? So what ends up happening though is we knew how to be profitable. Now we had to figure out how to mitigate our loss. So once we already know the indicators we use, the price levels we're looking for to trade, all of the technical stuff that go in, we put it into a code. Once we put that code into place, we tested it on simulation data to make sure it was accurate and profitable. Once we actually had what we were looking for, we tested it on real market data. Because what ends up happening when you're looking at demo accounts or simulations, they don't account for large volatile movements or market manipulation. Easiest way
Right.
for you all to explain that or understand is we've all seen the change in presidency we got, right?
Mhm.
Ever
Yeah.
since then, the markets have been different. I'm gonna
Yeah.
use very choice words in what I'm saying. The markets have been different, right? We have a president who can literally go on the internet, say a couple of words, and it impacts your investment portfolio. So in a sense, when there's more than a president, there's Elon Musk, there's banks who have trillions of dollars who can make these same type of movements occur. Your simulation or your demo data is not going to account for that. So once you actually have developed the algorithm, you have to actually let it run in live in real time market conditions, and then we'll
That's
see if you're actually.
that's actually one of my questions. Actually, was one of my questions is what ways does Opulent Bots AI adapt to changing market conditions, particularly during these particular economic times? Like, has
So
had because I've known it seemed like the market has dipped crazy.
mhm.
You know what I'm saying? So, how have you adapted to this?
So I guess the easiest way for you to understand, we have three different algorithms, right? Two of our algorithms are focused in the USD market. The other one is focused in the German market. So most of our two of our algorithms trade USD currency pairs. The other one trades the German index fund. Me having my background in finance and immediately seeing the manipulation that occurred when Donald Trump came into presidency, also, the new inauguration, all of the small little things that tell you you're going to have different market conditions. I transitioned all of my clients from investing in the US market to us investing in the German market, because the
Mm,
German president, dictator, whatever it is over there, excuse me, I for not knowing, but he's not on Twitter. He's not
yeah.
he's not
So,
tweeting.
so you're trading money.
We're trading money.
You know what's crazy? So for people like me and a lot of other people who are blind to this thing and we need to wake up, when we hear trading, we just think investing and trading is basically the same thing. My cousin-in-law actually had to be the one to break it down to me that this is money that they're trading, because she's a day trader.
Mm-hmm.
And basically what you were saying, that she just now, she was saying the same exact thing, you know. Wow. So let me get back to the questions, because wow, this is deep. So you talked about why trading is important. Let me ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
As far as when you first thought about this, because algorithms and AI has not always been neck to neck. Algorithms have just advanced AI. You know what I'm saying? It's given it a model, or, like algorithm is basically instructions for
Mm-hmm.
people to. So for all you guys that really need to know, algorithm is instructions. You know, like if you hit X or this Y, it's just basically you tell it what to do. You know what I'm saying? So that's what an algorithm is. So when you first thought about this, was AI in your mind too, to use AI? Because 5 years ago, nobody was thinking about AI. You know what I'm saying?
No.
So was it just, so it was just I ain't saying nobody, because I know that it was, we could go back to 1895 and talk about who first thought about it,
Mm-hmm.
1955, the Turing test. But what I'm saying is the average person, and I doubt if in people who invest, and I doubt even if traders, maybe you was, but I don't think too many people was thinking about artificial intelligence 5 years ago. So what I'm asking you is, when you did think about this 5 years ago, and particularly using an algorithm, was you also thinking about AI? Or
No,
did
we were
AI
just
come down
thinking
later?
concepts, and I guess we didn't know what we were doing at the time, because what we were concerned about is if your algorithm is losing, how do we mitigate that loss, right? And so what we wanted to do is just make sure that your algorithm can record and learn from its losses. It wants to optimize the market conditions that it's going to trade in and make sure it's trading those specific conditions. But if it then loses, it needs to record the losses that it loses. And from there, it has to wait on markets to shift again, and then wait on the optimal time to come around again, and still record the losses that it's taking for its entire trading history for you. It has to make sure we're keeping account for that. And we want to get better, and we're going to get those losses back. So the thing about our software is that as long as you honestly set your algorithm with the proper risk management that's allocated to the risk associated with how much money you're starting with. So, for example, you say low risk because I only have a low amount of money. If you say high risk with a low amount of money, it's not going to end well for you. But if you say low risk, low amount of money, all you have to do is just sit back and wait over time, because you're dealing with the system.
So the individual actually is the one that sets the parameters.
Correct.
You give them, okay.
So there are a few things that you can change, but depending on the dollar amount that you start up with, we've positioned that to where you can detail the type of returns you might want to see.
Does it notify you?
In terms of?
If I put it to where if it goes to this point at a certain low, to notify me. If it goes to a certain high, to buy. Can it do that or no? Or just
no. So those are third-party softwares that we connect that give you those alerts.
Oh, so you do that? You have that capability to have third parties connected with you?
Yeah. So what you would do is you would just use TradingView, which is the platform that tracks all pretty much currency, stocks, anything you could think of with trading. You typically can find it on TradingView, and you would just set up those price alerts, and then you link TradingView to your phone. So that's actually how we traded before we actually had the algorithms. So before we would want to just, sit at the chart all day and watch the computer, you would set up TradingView alerts so that when price hit a certain price point, your phone would alert you. Or you would sit at the screen all day.
So that's what I want to know is, so my cousin-in-law, I think she don't sit at the screen all day, but I think she has her hours where she'll go online and look at the market. But I'm not sure if she's trading.
Mm-hmm. Well, she might be it sounds to me like she might be an experienced trader. And
she is.
So for me, when I told you, I made $100 today, I think that took me 30 minutes. So the market opened at 8:30. I had to wait on the fluff to move around a little bit. I placed my position probably like 10 minutes after that. I waited on it. It looked good, looked like what I wanted. I put my parameters in and closed my computer. So I was done trading, like actually sitting at the computer, after about 9 o'clock. Then as I went on by my day, about 9:45, I pulled my phone back up. I was up $100. I closed the trade.
So let me ask you this: 9 o'clock in the morning, you go on to do what you're doing with your algorithms?
No.
Okay.
I manually trade completely separate from my algorithm. The algorithm makes its own money in the background. Once you set the algorithm up and you got that cooking, it's going to cook in the background for you. You don't touch it. Just take money from it. That's it. But I wanted additional cash flow. So, and then I just missed actually manually trading, because for me, it's kind of, like I said, it's a passion, actually being able to look at the markets and execute and be profitable. Like, that's a different feeling when you wake up and say, I put 200 in the market and I'm leaving with 3.
Yeah.
So.
Wow. So let me ask you a question. Some people, I'm in my little research, I felt they was kind of reluctant because, like, I feel a lot of people, it's difficult to try to get people to accept what's coming with artificial intelligence. Are you finding that to be the same situation with your business with traders?
I think people don't believe it's possible. And that's what I'm struggling with more so. When I tell you, hey, there's a software out there that all you have to do is put X amount of dollars in this software and it can double your money in 4 to 6 months. People are like, impossible, because the traditional banking system have told you you're only supposed to get 4% a year. At the most, the S&P is going to give you 15%, and then you have to be rich to get 30%. So because this is the traditional mentality that's put off on people, when I tell them that, hey, actually, you're supposed to be getting these returns, you just have a financial advisor who's pocketing all of that money. And then you have the cryptocurrency scams, you have the meme coin scams, then you have rug pulls.
No. How is it
Those are
possible that the president can be the president? He's getting ready to hold a meme coin party where I guess the top people who have brought meme coins, they're having a party, some type of like, isn't that illegal
insider trading. Yeah, yes. What he's doing should be
for him to
considered,
be the president?
what he has done should be considered insider trading. But if y'all ask me, Donald Trump should go down in history as the coldest, the baddest villain in history. You have to put that man in history books. And I'm just saying, like, I haven't seen anything be accomplished that he's doing. And it's time after time after time after time after time.
Is he messing up the trading market?
Yes.
Damn.
Yes, because his tariffs directly put direct fear into the market. And when you have fear, you have liquidity. So we're in a state to where we're almost, and I don't mean to scare people, but we're technically in an undeclared recession.
Yeah.
As a finance profession, I'll tell you, we're in an undeclared profession. The minute you have GDP, gross domestic product, these are numbers that heavily influence financial markets. But the minute you have two negative numbers, or say -2%, -1%, once we have 2 quarters of a negative GDP, every other metric in this state says we're in a recession. That is the only reason that they cannot say we're in a recession right now.
Yeah. And you know what's crazy? From what I had heard maybe a month and a half ago, I was told that he thought that he was going to be able to convince this man to lower interest rates, the one he's trying to convince now.
How?
From what I told, he was doing all this because he thought he would be able to convince that to save his butt. But that man ain't budging, and he's really pissed behind it because now he's stuck with this nightmare that we're having.
That's the thing, though, because I don't think people understand the Federal Reserve and your government are two different people.
But he wants to run everything. He doesn't care about that. Trump wants to be 100% in control of the United States. He wants to run it his way. He actually said something I heard the other day with him and his attorney general, where they are the only two people that should be able to determine the law and what's law in America.
Man, listen.
That's crazy.
The baddest villain in history. That's all I have to say.
Let me ask you this. As far as trading, let's take opulent bots out the picture. How does a person normally trade? Like, what's the way that people would normally trade, or what the old school way? Because regardless of what they like, eventually bots are going to take over, whether they like it or not. So you're positioned very, very well. You know what I'm saying? It's just a matter of time and staying consistent, because I don't care what nobody say. AI is getting ready to take over. It's going to take over the stock market. It's not going to be where, you're still going to have to be on your game, because what's going to happen is, and I'll talk to you about competition in a minute, but say, for instance, I want to know, let's take bots out the picture. Let's take the algorithms out the picture. What's the normal way to trade, or the typical way a person who's not using no AI, how do they trade money, not stocks and bonds? Like, is day trading the same as that?
So day trading is typically like futures, options, that type of stuff. You can't day trade stocks because you will need $1 million in order to be profitable. But when it comes down to option trading and trading in like the foreign exchange market, you can do what we call leverage trading. So for example, for every dollar you put into the brokerage account, you have $500 of buying power. This allows you to, day trade and make more money up front and during, your day-to-day transactions. Whereas if you're buying a stock, you have to have the actual money. So for example, Tesla costs 200, you have to have 200 to buy that Tesla share. And then it's only going to move $5 that day or $10 that day.
So let me ask you this. When people say they're day trading, are they, so I have to make sure I get this clear on my head on what is the difference between investing in NVIDIA and Microsoft?
Long and short. So when someone is
what I'm asking though is when they sit there in the daytime too and are they doing that, or are they just trading money?
Well, you're always going to be trading money on both ends. But when you're talking about investing, you're holding for 5 years, 3 years, 10 years. When you're talking about day trading, you're talking either a day, a couple of minutes, a couple of hours, You're
leaving with some money or you lost some money.
And that's why, what ends up happening is 90% of retail or day traders aren't profitable. They're not successful at it because of their emotion. 90%.
Wow. And that's one thing about an algorithm. It is not emotional. And that's one of the good things. Wow. So let me ask you this. I already asked you about the market conditions. How does Opulent Bots approach the challenge of diversification across brokers, systems, and investments over time?
Ooh, that's a very good one. So in terms of all of that type of stuff, you have to be educated in it, right? In terms of our software, we can't technically the algorithm was built to trade a specific currency, right? So at this point, the only thing I can do is develop more algorithms, which we are, and they'll come out in time. But what I can tell you is we can help you. And there's two things that, aid this. One, our software is integrated with Bitcoin, right? So in order for you to put money into your brokerage account, you need cryptocurrencies. When money comes out, you need cryptocurrencies. This helps us in two ways. You automatically, one, are diversified in Bitcoin if your algorithm is profitable. So when you withdraw your money, it's coming out in Bitcoin. Because it's coming out in Bitcoin, it's not taxed. You're technically not taxed on your algorithm profits until you either trade your Bitcoin for USD, or you can trade it for other cryptocurrencies and then continue to diversify. So for us, and why the rage is going on around the cryptocurrencies, right? We don't care, because if we put $10,000 into our algorithm, it averages a 25% rate of return. That's $2,500 every month. That $2,500 comes out in Bitcoin. We take that Bitcoin and we buy Ethereum, we buy XRP, we buy Cardano. We're diversifying using the algorithm's profits.
So let me ask you a question. I have a friend, say for instance, he took 50,000, but say the thing about it is he knows nothing about trading. So how would you educate him before he actually invests 50,000? Like, what would be his steps? He knows nothing about trading, nothing about investing, but he got some money.
The first thing I would do when I have clients who are like, I want to invest 50,000, I say, slow your roll. Okay. We don't need to put 50,000 into the algorithm. Put 15,000 into the algorithm, right? You'll pay for your software and then you'll put the other capital into the algorithm. What's going to happen is he's going to look at that algorithm every day. The algorithm's going to start making him money. Once he starts making money, he's going to wonder, what's going on here and how is it making money? Where is it trading? What I've seen clients do is they'll start doing research on their own. They'll start figuring out we're trading in this market. Then next thing you know, they'll want to start taking that money and trading it additionally. Now they're getting into options. Now they're getting into futures. And this is all their additional research on their own, just because the software is in the background making you money. Once you're exposed to the fact of how profitable investing is, you go seeking the knowledge. And by having the software to not take you through the heartaches or the emotional downfall that comes with when you're learning, you're seeking knowledge very, very, very openly. Then the other part of our company is we have a community that we've attached to, clients who end up actually purchasing our software. So the last thing I want to do is put this algorithm or software in your hands and leave you, unknowledgeable about the space.
Yeah.
So there has to be a community for continued education that will help you understand exactly what's going on with the algorithm. What are these other markets that you're trading in? And once you're actually profitable, we start helping you dollar cost average into different investments.
You know why I said the 50,000? Because I had seen that on your website. I had seen that you was kind of saying something about, I guess one of the algorithms was basically, you said it's best to start off with 100,000.
So what that actually means is that when you start talking about, managing different dollar amounts, that's where the price point of the software begins to change. Because you can think about it like this. There's a different, cost to crashing a drone and then crashing a jet, right? So because of that different, volatility of what's going on in the market and the management of the software, that's where the price point begins to increase. So how it works is if you have a license key, it'll work for a dollar amount up to 50,000. Then your next one will work for a dollar amount up to 100,000. And your last one will work for up to 50,000.
I think okay. I lost you for a minute. You there?
I'm sorry. So yeah, I'm here. So did you miss the last couple things I
Yeah.
said?
Yeah.
Okay. So pretty much what ends up happening though is it's pretty much based off of, the management of the dollar amount in an account, because, there's a lot more risk than flying a jet versus flying a drone,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so what ends up happening though is your algorithm works for the dollar amount of managing capital up to 50K, 100K, and then 250K.
That's those three algorithms.
Well, you have three different types of algorithms, but then you have a tier within each. So the three different types trade different currency pairs. And
Right.
so depending on the currency pair that it's trading or the index fund and some behind the scenes functionalities in there, like for example, one of them has a recovery feature and a compounding feature. Then the other two only have recovery features.
What's a compounding feature?
The algorithm will automatically adjust the trade sizes that it's taking based on the dollar amount that's in the account. So with most of our algorithms, we wanted to design them so that as your account grows, your risk decreases. But then we had clients who were like, well, I want the account to compound with the money and I want the trades to compound with the money. So, you got to get the people what they want.
Yeah. So let me ask you a question. I guess you can update anybody's algorithm, right? And all right, let me see what I was going to say. You can update anybody's algorithm. Okay, this is interesting. Wow. You just I because I didn't know nothing about trading. I'm thinking investing, like the video, all that stuff is the same thing. Wow.
No, those are so when you hear, that type of stuff, that's your long-term portfolio. That's the corporation you say, I believe in, this guy's gonna, he's worth 100, he'll be worth 1,000 in the future, and I can give it to my kids.
Do most people who do those type of investments, well, they can't be day traders because a lot of them is running companies, a lot of them is doing business.
Day trading is frowned upon
It is.
because 90% of people fail.
Well, I tell you this, my cousin-in-law, she quit her job. She was a pharmacist, probably
She's
making
a 10%.
almost 200,000 a year. She
She's
quit her job. Huh?
She's a part of the 10% who know how to win.
Because she broke down what you doing to me, just like you just did. Like everything you just said, that's what she basically told me, because I was confused too. So she had gave me an education on everything. You know what I'm saying? So, all right. So we already talked about as far as the 100K to 50K. So your starter, you have an opulent starter plan that starts at $6,500, and then you have an opulent professional plan that starts at $10,899. What are these getting you?
These are the difference in the management of the dollar amount that we just talked about. So that's it. The price point pretty much comes down to the risk of how much is going into managing your capital, because at the end of the day, there is a different risk associated with managing $5,000 and $50,000.
Mm-hmm. So is it so let me ask you a question. How do you get access when someone has an account? Because they have to have an account first.
They have to get a brokerage account. So you understand, there's three pieces needed in order for your algorithm to work. You need a VPS, a virtual private server. Your virtual private server is your computer in the cloud. We set everything up on your computer in the cloud so that if anything's happened to your internet on your normal computer, it's not affecting your algorithm. So your algorithm is always going to be running. As long as you got access to a URL link, you can get to your algorithm. The next thing you need is your brokerage account. Your brokerage account is completely separate from Opulent Bots. This is where all of the money is being held. This is where you would deposit and withdraw your money. Your brokerage account is also where you're going to get your trading terminal. Once you get the trading terminal, we download that onto the VPS. Got it?
So you're a third party that can do that, then is allowed to do that.
Yes. And then so once you have those two things set up, you have the trading terminal and you have your broker account set up in the VPS. We take our algorithm and we put that onto the trading terminal. From there, you click auto trading and you print money.
Wow. Competition. Because whatever you're doing has to be very, very on point, because I would doubt if people would just be giving you access for your algorithm to be watching the market. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
What's going up and down.
In terms of competition, you have a lot of new guys who are starting, right? And you have a lot of different things that are coming into place. So there are two types of algorithms or two type of concepts of automated trading that you'll see out there, and it's martingale and grid. These two are very dangerous because at a certain point, they're going to blow your account. Martingale algorithms are like pretty much, they will place larger and larger and larger and larger positions as you're losing. The hope is if your position, you're only supposed to make $20 here, then you're supposed to make $20 here, you're supposed to make $40 here, right? The whole time you're losing. So what happens is they'll keep stacking these bigger positions, hoping that as soon as the market turns around, you're going to start winning here for a lot of money. Then you're going to start winning here for a lot of money. They'll close these two positions and you'll be profitable. And then they'll close all of the other positions up here as a loss because it won't matter. The orders down here were so big and you made so much money, it covered all of the losses up here.
Oh, yeah.
But what happens if the market just keep tanking and just keep going? Your account is blown. The other one does a very similar thing, but it places two positions at once. So it'll place a buy and a sell at the very same time and then repeat a very similar concept. So eventually when the market crashes, your account crashes. But what happens is during the short term, the 2 weeks, the 1 month, the 3 month, sometimes even a 6 month to a year, you'll make a lot of money. So if you're paying, a couple hundred, a couple thousand, and in the course of 3 to 6 months, you made a few thousand, who cares, right? You've made more money before it blew your account than you lost. But with our software, we go for longevity. We have long back-tested data that says you can just set these up and let them run. All of our algorithms have legit data behind them, running for over a year. 5 years is our longest one. But at the end of the day, you don't have to worry about that cliffhanger. What you have to worry about is you being too aggressive and setting your algorithm to make you $1 million and you only put $1 in it.
Right.
It doesn't work like that. That's not realistic.
as far as statistics, as far as proven facts, I mean, I don't think nothing is 100%. Um, like what would be the statistics on wins and losses for your company since you've actually started selling?
They're on the website. And do you mean in terms of the algorithm?
Yeah, like how would I ask this question as far as
How many people have actually lost money for real? Is that
I
basically what
mean,
you want to
no,
hear?
I don't want to just say how many people have lost. Like, what are the statistics as far as, have more people won than more people lost? Has anybody lost?
So the clients that I have had as failures, it's user error. I haven't
Mm,
had my algorithm legitimately fail a client. It's always been user error.
yeah.
And the two user errors that I have had, one has been on my team and the other has been on the client. And so the thing that, like I said, if you set your algorithm to be tailored for risk management, proper settings in the beginning, I have nothing to worry about. Over time, your algorithm will learn and recover whatever it loses. So me personally, I love seeing my algorithm lose because that means my baby getting smarter and he gonna make me more money. So, that's how I look at it.
So the algorithm is so the algorithm is actually learning from real time.
It's gathering more data. So as it gathers more data, it can execute the trades a little bit better. So in the beginning, right now, like what I'm dealing with clients is clients who algorithms started during Trump's inauguration and when Trump came into presidency versus clients whose algorithms started prior to that. Clients whose algorithms started when Trump came into office, their algorithms are trading far better than the algorithms that started prior because all they know is Trump's volatility. All they know is the crazy manipulation that Trump is doing, right? And so with that, that makes it a lot more profitable for those newer algorithms because they have newer data. The older algorithms are going off of old market conditions and they're still learning and adjusting to the newer data. That makes
I
sense.
got Yeah. My guy just asked me how to get involved with your company. Greg, I was asking that question for you, man, when I was saying, about investing. So now we're gonna get you involved, Greg, because Greg got a couple of dollars he gonna be having. So this might be something that will be good for him to invest in, to just be able to, you know, learn and sit back and start being able to have something to do basically.
And
Because
if anyone is looking for that additional trading education, the other, one of my co-founders with me, he came from the exact same background, but he pretty much experienced the multi-level marketing scam that was evolved around trading, and that kind of like broke his passion. And so what he did was created a community and created a true center around pure value and pure fundamental education for traders who are looking for actual education. And so he named the group For Traders. So it's
for
a
traders,
community for traders. Yep.
wow. So you would definitely advise that someone educates themselves before even getting involved, even with opulent bots.
I wouldn't say that. I would say we created the company to where we can make you money no matter what you know. And that was the whole premise of how I wanted to design this. No matter if you know nothing about trading, all you have to do is sit down with us, get on a setup call, click a button, and you'll start printing money. But I preach and I like to make sure people understand that this finance game, this investing game, all of this stuff is a lot bigger than us. So
Yeah,
I've given you the tool to make the money behind it so that that's in the background. It's up to you to make sure you educate yourself so you have the knowledge to pass on to the next generation.
yeah. D says I have a few questions. Oh man, hold on. Let me see if I can close this down and look at that. Hold on. What the hell is the questions?
I see it. She says, I have a few questions. How does this help a person who can trade? Does it work on all time frames and different types of trading? So, to specifically answer that question, we mainly trade in the foreign exchange market. So, there are multiple currency pairs that, we have two algorithms that will trade on USD, JPY. USD, CAD, Euro USD. You know, it's 7 different ones that vary between our two algorithms. But then the one that I'm really selling right now is trading in the German market. So it's trading the JER 40. And with that, it's doing 25% pretty much monthly. So I don't want to break, you know, anything that's kind of working. And so also with the volatility in the US market, we're kind of staying away from that until Trump has settled down in office and whatever him and Elon got going on calms down. Then I'll come back to the US market. But right now we're trading, you know, in the German market, and that's where we're getting our great returns. We're able to double money pretty much in 4 months. But in terms of time frame, it trades on the 15-minute, the 30-minute, and the 1 hour.
That was a good question, D. Word. Wow. So when you say you're not dealing with the US, I guess, dollar right now, how does that work? Say, for instance, when somebody had already had their algorithm adjusted for the US dollar.
I'm shutting you down.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Are you going to listen to someone who studies finance?
Yeah. Oh, okay, so that's part of it. Then you actually still correspond with letting people know.
I'm gonna call you like, look, Donald Trump got some crazy stuff going on in this market. And from what I can see in the data that I know, it's best for us to shift over here to the German market where we're getting consistent returns. Because right now, what can end up happening is your algorithm can be in, you know, a recovery trade where it's like, okay, this is optimal conditions for us to recover a lot of the money we lost, right? Donald Trump tweets at that same time.
Yeah. Wow.
Your trade that was going good, this has nothing to do with your algorithm for real, right? Because your algorithm said this is prime conditions. It's time for us to get in this trade. Everything is good. You're in the trade for 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Donald Trump tweets and he sends the market the other way.
Yeah. Wow.
That's pretty much what's going on with a lot of bleeding in people's portfolio.
Who has the best trading dollar value right now?
Has the best trading value?
Like, as far as, because you said you're trading in Germany money right now.
Well, we're trading the German index fund.
Index fund. That's what. So you wouldn't call it money. That's what you call it. Index funds.
Well, index funds are like S&P 500, US 30, NASDAQ 100. These are a conglomerate of the top 30 stocks, 50 stocks, 500 stocks, whatever it is. It's the top stocks in whatever sector this country is pretty much detailing. And so for us, it's the top stocks in Germany.
Okay, so it's not one stock. It's actually like a group.
It's a group.
Okay. D said, if you manually trade, how does the algorithm help your trading?
You like extra money, don't you?
Oh, yeah, because that's what. So basically, I think I might can answer this. So basically, you keep trading if you want to, but use that algorithm to set some of your trades, because now you could just sit back and let that algorithm work.
Exactly. So to the same point, like, you know, yesterday when the algorithm traded, it made an additional 400. I did nothing to make that $400. If I was a manual trader and I wanted to honestly, you know, make more money manually trading, I'll just take the 400 from the algorithm and add that to my manually trading account. Because I know for me and my skill set and manually trading, I can do 20%, 30% off of, you know, a single trade. Because every single trade I take, it has to have a risk management of a 2-to-1 ratio. So if I'm going to risk $50, I have to make $100. And that's pretty much how I traded this morning.
And you set that ratio with your algorithm.
No, not with my, well, yes, you can set that same ratio with your algorithm. Yeah.
So is it I mean, I know they not messing with the real algorithm. So is there like pull downs and like drop downs that they are like choosing from when they're actually setting their stuff up?
When we first set the algorithm up, there's going to be like 8 different boxes where we input information, and the information we're inputted will detail your risk and how much money you're starting with. And so that 2-to-1 ratio, that's one of the things we can adjust and we can change. But I don't recommend you change that. The only thing I recommend you changing is just using our risk calculator that says, hey, if you're starting the algorithm with $10,000, $5,000, $2,000, if you want risky settings, this is what you should
Oh, okay.
set
I
it
see
at.
what you're saying.
If you
Yeah.
want
So
conservative
yeah,
settings, this is what you set it at. You
okay.
want regular settings, this is what you set it at.
D says, does the algorithm set the trade execution and stop loss, or does the trader set those parameters?
The
I think that's
algorithm
what we
does
just
it.
talked about, right?
That's exactly what we just answered.
Yeah.
The algorithm does it. So in that initial setup, when we're very first setting up your algorithm, we can change your take profit and your stop loss, but I don't recommend you do that. So if you were, so for example, like, you know, the take profit right now would be at like 60 pips. And I believe the algorithm has a stop loss at 40 pips. If you were to change that take profit to 80 and say the stop loss to 20, I'm not liable for how your algorithm will trade, and you avoid your refund policy. But as long as you leave it at that ratio that we have, that's what we've back tested and we know works.
Oh yeah, because you okay. So because you okay, of course that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? Oh wow, wow, that's interesting. Greg, you gonna get down with it? I see you down there, Greg. You getting down? Let me pull up. I'm gonna pull up Greg. Let me let Greg in. Yeah. What you think, Greg?
It sounds good. I got somebody to play with.
Yo, stop telling the world your business, man.
I ain't telling nobody nothing. I ain't saying anything.
Yeah, you got everybody calling you tomorrow.
They're gonna call you anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll let you go. Yo. All right, yo, man. So this was very interesting, Daniel. I appreciate you, man. Let me ask you this last question. What future developments in AI and market technology is Opulent Bots most excited about? And how might these advancements change investments in the future?
So right now, if I'm being honest with y'all, I'm kind of still on the outsides, right? I can't get into the traditional markets that the rich people and your Fidelities, all of them got their hands locked on, right? But what I'm doing is I'm allowing the algorithms to be transitioned over to TradingView. And once that happens, your IRA accounts, all of those accounts that got the tax savings, all of the, you know, Charles Schwab's, all of that type of stuff, we can put those accounts on automation. So you'll be able to really, really, really make money. Right now, we have to kind of go through a couple of barriers, but you know, that's never going to stop us because we actually understand the value of what's out there. And the barriers are, you know, this game is positioned essentially for the rich, right? They typically only want hedge funds, you know, bigger banks, bigger institutions dealing with this type of money because of how much money you can actually make. There is risk involved, you know, but if you have knowledge, once you're part of that 10%, the world changes.
Let me ask you this: as far as if you got funding, like would that change how things can happen for you? Like, say for instance, like are you looking for funding or like to grow? Like, say no. Are you
at first,
like
you
you're
know,
growing?
I like how I'm growing because I'm connecting with authentic people. I'm connecting with real value. And what I know for me and kind of just my trajectory, a lot of the skill sets that I have developed and that I have comes from me not having funding. Because I don't have funding, I have to really figure it out. I don't have the ability to, you know, just put money at this, and just be like, oh, it's going to work. No, I like actually being at the bottom and doing the real research and knowing it has to work.
D said, can you use the algorithm on funded accounts?
Yes, you can. And I think she's meaning like prop firm accounts. But the problem would be you have to make sure that the contract size of the German index fund works with your prop firm account. So if your contract size for the German index fund, DER 30 or DER 40, I don't know what it is for your prop firm. As long as the contract size is between 1 and 25, it'll work. That was, you know, that's the one, like we really developed this algorithm to trade in the German index market specifically for that. Who is this D person? Because that's the question. That's a real question right there. She's trying to get some money.
Yeah.
That's
Which
a
is
real
good.
question.
Yeah. Yo, D, I'm yo, I'm gonna yeah, I just want to say thank you, brother. That was a good education. D, thank you for the questions. Greg, thank you. I think you've answered, everything I needed to know about trading and particularly what you're doing. So what I want you to do is just give everybody contact information to get in touch with you. Whatever you want to do, website, phone number, whatever.
So first thing I'm dropping in the chat too, so they got it.
Okay.
Give me 1 second.
Greg's gonna be with me. I'll introduce Greg to you at InvestFest.
Okay, got you.
He's gonna be with me there.
So there's all of my contact information. And so, I don't know if he told y'all this before we got on the call, but Erik agreed for anyone who's, check out with us, he's gonna give y'all $1,500 off our algorithm. No, I'm just kidding. But what I did do for you all though is if you check out, use let me double check and make sure. Do use 1,500 off Erik, and you'll receive a $1,500 promotion on any anything you check out with on our website. So the website is, there you go. So y'all promo code, for brother Erik is 1,500 off Erik. So make sure y'all remember that, and record that for them. So anybody rewatching this, if they ever want to do business in the future, they got that promo code for them.
Yeah. Listen, man, I appreciate you, brother. I guess I'll be seeing you at InvestFest. I'm gonna definitely be calling you ahead of time, though. And plus, I'm gonna, chop this video up. I'm hoping everything came out good. And I'm also gonna do a notebook LLM, and I want to make sure you get that because that's going to be important for us to put a whole video out of other people actually talking about me and you talking about what we talked about tonight. Have you ever used notebook LLM?
I have not.
Oh man, you're gonna love it. Wait till I send you that. So basically I'll upload what we talked about tonight, and then it's gonna be 2 people that's gonna be talking about what we talked about.
Okay, that sounds nice.
Yeah. Okay. So listen, man, I appreciate you, Greg, D, everybody else who's looking at us. Appreciate y'all. Once again, Daniel Armstrong, founder of Opulent Bots. Appreciate you, brother.
No problem. Thank you for having me. I hope I was able to provide value to your watchers and viewers.
You was. And then, like I said, what's going to be important is I'll have a video to point people to, because people always ask me. So that's more important to me than even right now, because I've never had nowhere to, my answer was always, I really don't know. So now I do know. So I want to thank you for educating me, you know what I'm saying, on the difference between trading and investing in things like NVIDIA and, even the algorithms, the bots and stuff like that. So I have some knowledge now where if someone asks me, I can talk about it. You know what I'm saying? So I appreciate you once again. And I'll be in touch with you. I'll be in touch with you anyway next few days once I do some chopping up on this video. And then we'll go from there.
Okay, no problem. Appreciate you. Have a great day.
Peace.
Sir.